Hey y'all, welcome back to the channel. Now, I know what you might be thinking. Joanna, I live in a tiny apartment downtown. Gardening? That's just a dream for me, right? Well, I'm here to tell you that you couldn't be more wrong. See, Chip and I, we've always believed that everyone deserves a little bit of nature in their lives, no matter where they call home. And that's what today's video is all about, transforming those concrete jungles into lush, thriving gardens. We're diving deep into my top 5 secrets for urban gardening success. We're talking practical tips, creative solutions, and a whole lot of that can-do spirit that makes anything possible. So grab your gardening gloves and let's get started. First up, let's talk about vertical gardening. When floor space is limited, think upwards. Imagine a gorgeous living wall bursting with color and life, right there in your own home. Now, that's what I call using your space wisely. Vertical gardening is all about making the most of those often overlooked vertical surfaces. Think walls, fences, even the sides of your cabinets. It's amazing how much you can grow when you start thinking outside the traditional garden bed. One of my favorite ways to go vertical is with wall planters. You can find them in all shapes and sizes these days, from rustic wooden ones to sleek metal designs. Plant them up with cascading herbs, vibrant flowers, or even trailing strawberries for a touch of whimsy. And don't forget about trellises. A sturdy trellis can transform a bare wall into a verdant tapestry of climbing vines. Think fragrant jasmine, colorful clematis, or even a passion flower vine with its intricate, almost otherworldly blooms. Another simple but effective option is hanging pots. I love using a mix of sizes and materials to create visual interest. Terracotta, metal, woven baskets. The possibilities are endless. And just imagine reaching up to snip fresh herbs right from your hanging garden while you're cooking dinner. Vertical gardening isn't just practical. It's a chance to get creative and add a touch of artistry to your urban oasis. So let your imagination run wild and see what kind of vertical wonders you can create. Now, I want you to picture this. You step out onto your tiny balcony, and instead of being met with bare walls, you're greeted by a cascade of vibrant greenery. The air is filled with the scent of herbs, and you can practically taste the fresh tomatoes ripening on the vine. That's the beauty of vertical gardening. It transforms the ordinary into the extraordinary. It allows you to create a sense of abundance and connection with nature, even in the heart of the city. So don't let limited space hold you back from experiencing the joy of gardening. Embrace the possibilities of vertical gardening and watch your urban space come alive. Next up, let's talk about container gardening. Now, this is where you can really let your creativity shine. Container gardening is all about versatility and making the most of every nook and cranny. Think about it. Balconies, patios, rooftops, windowsills, even fire escapes can become home to thriving container gardens. It's amazing how a few strategically placed pots can transform a drab concrete slab into a charming urban oasis. And the best part? Container gardening is perfect for beginners. It's a low-commitment, high-reward way to dip your toes into the world of gardening. Start small with a few herbs on your windowsill and see where your green thumb takes you. Now let's talk containers. The options are truly endless. You can find beautiful pots in all shapes, sizes, and materials. Terracotta, ceramic, plastic, wood, metal, the sky's the limit. But don't be afraid to think outside the traditional pot too. Upcycling is a passion of mine, and container gardening is the perfect opportunity to give new life to old things. Imagine a vintage wash tub overflowing with colorful annuals, or a collection of galvanized buckets transformed into a thriving herb garden. You can even use old dresser drawers, tea kettles, or even rain boots as unique and charming planters. And when it comes to what to plant, the possibilities are just as endless. From vibrant flowers to tasty veggies, you can grow just about anything in containers. Imagine harvesting fresh lettuce for your salad right from your balcony, or picking juicy strawberries for breakfast right outside your door. Container gardening is all about bringing the joy of gardening into your everyday life, no matter where you live. So, embrace your inner gardener, get creative with your containers, and watch your urban space bloom. Chapter 3. Small Space, Big Yield. Mastering the art of square-foot gardening. Now let's talk about a gardening method that's perfect for those of us with limited space square-foot gardening. This technique is all about maximizing your yield in a small area, and it's surprisingly simple. The basic idea is to divide your garden bed, or even just a large container, into square-foot sections using string or wood. Each square becomes its own mini garden, and you plant a specific number of plants per square foot based on their size. For example, you might plant 1 tomato plant per square foot, but you could fit up to 16 radishes in the same space. This method ensures that your plants have enough room to grow without overcrowding, leading to healthier plants and a more abundant harvest. Square foot gardening is also a great way to try out companion planting. This is the practice of planting different crops together that benefit each other. For example, planting basil next to tomatoes can help deter pests and improve the flavor of both plants. One of the things I love most about square foot gardening is how organized and manageable it is. It's perfect for beginners or anyone who feels overwhelmed by the thought of a traditional garden. And because you're planting more intensively, you'll be amazed at how much you can grow in a small space. Imagine harvesting armfuls of fresh vegetables from a garden that's no bigger than a parking space. Square foot gardening is proof that you don't need a sprawling backyard to experience the joy of growing your own food. With a little planning and effort, you can create a thriving and productive garden in even the smallest of spaces. Chapter 4. Downsizing for big flavor, choosing dwarf and compact varieties. Now, let's talk about choosing the right plants for your urban garden. And here's a little secret: size doesn't always matter. In fact, when it comes to small space gardening, choosing dwarf or compact plant varieties can make all the difference. Imagine a dwarf lemon tree, bursting with fragrant blossoms and yielding up to 30 juicy lemons each year, all in a container no bigger than 15 gallons. That's the magic of dwarf varieties. They pack all the flavor and productivity of their full-sized counterparts into a smaller package, making them perfect for urban gardens. And it's not just fruit trees. You can find dwarf and compact varieties of all sorts of vegetables, herbs, and even flowering plants. Look for terms like patio, bush, or dwarf on plant labels to find varieties that are well-suited to container life. For example, instead of planting sprawling vine tomatoes that need lots of space, opt for a compact patio variety that grows upright and produces an abundance of delicious fruit in a smaller area. Or if you're a fan of cucumbers but don't have room for their rambling vines, look for bush cucumber varieties that stay compact and are perfect for containers or small gardens. Don't be afraid to experiment with different dwarf and compact varieties to find what works best in your space. You might be surprised at how much variety and abundance you can pack into your urban garden. Remember, good things come in small packages, especially when it comes to urban gardening. So, choose your plants wisely and watch your small space flourish with big flavors. Chapter 5. Growing Together, Embracing Community Gardens and Shared Spaces. And finally, let's talk about a wonderful way to expand your gardening horizons beyond your own backyard or balcony. Community gardens and shared spaces offer a fantastic opportunity to connect with fellow gardening enthusiasts, share knowledge, and access larger plots for growing a wider variety of crops. Imagine a sunny plot of land buzzing with activity as neighbors gather to tend their gardens, share tips, and swap stories. Community gardens are more than just places to grow food. They're vibrant hubs of social connection and community building. They're also a great way to learn from more experienced gardeners. Don't be afraid to ask questions, share your successes and struggles, and learn from the collective wisdom of the group. And if you're new to gardening, community gardens can be a great way to get your hands dirty without the commitment of a full-fledged garden of your own. Many community gardens offer plots for rent, so you can experience the joy of gardening without having to worry about space constraints. Shared spaces like rooftop gardens or courtyard gardens in apartment complexes offer another way to connect with nature and fellow gardeners. Even if you don't have your own designated plot, you can still enjoy the benefits of a shared green space. So if you're feeling limited by your own space or simply craving a sense of community, I encourage you to explore the world of community gardens and shared spaces. You might be surprised at what you discover and who you meet along the way. Chapter 6. From Tiny Spaces to Bountiful Harvests. You've got this. As you can see, limited space doesn't mean limited gardening potential. By implementing these strategies, you can cultivate your own urban oasis, no matter the size of your home. Remember, gardening is a journey, not a destination, so have fun with it. Don't be afraid to experiment, and most importantly, enjoy the process. I hope these tips have inspired you to get out there and get growing, and remember, even the smallest of spaces can yield the biggest of harvests. both in terms of fresh, delicious food and the joy and satisfaction that comes from connecting with nature. Now, I'd love to hear from you. Which of these urban gardening tips are you most excited to try? Share your thoughts in the comments below. I love hearing from y'all. As you can see, limited space doesn't mean limited gardening potential. By implementing these strategies, you can cultivate your own urban oasis, no matter the size of your home. Which of these tips will you try first? Drop a comment below. We'd love to hear from you. And don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more urban gardening insights. Happy planting!